Hello everybody, my name is Necroxis, and if you were not aware, the StarCraft Legacy of the Void cinematic trailer came out, and I'm going to show it to you, and then we're going to talk about it, because I still, it's so good! Okay, so here it is. We're going to show it to you, and then afterwards we're going to talk, alright? So here we go.
The swarm brought ruin to our world. Our proud people became refugees. And yet, they could not shatter our unity. For we are bound by the Kala, the sacred union of our every thought and emotion. Today, we retake our homeworld, and with it, our legacy.
Oh my god, that was so good! You know, I've watched it a couple times now before I made the video, and I was trying to figure out why did I like this so much? Almost more than like any of the other StarCraft cinematics. And I'll say that maybe even more than Warcraft, StarCraft has like the best cinematics of everything Blizzard does. They're so polished, they're so amazing, they still look fantastic. The StarCraft 1 cinematics, they look only a little old when you go back and watch them. And that's like 20 years ago. So I was trying to put my finger on why I like this one so much, and I think I've come up with the answer. And it is, we have yet to see, this is the first time I think ever we've seen almost exclusively like Protoss fighting in like the current generation of what we can do with graphics and how we can do cinematics. There's a lot of stuff with the Terrans, there's a lot of stuff with the Zerg, we see Zerg again, but I think this is the first time ever in Blizzard's cinematic history that we just see like Protoss just fucking kicking ass and just destroying everything. And I think it's awesome. I know some people don't get this, but I think maybe some of you do. You'll understand what I say. Do you ever get that feeling when you're watching something that you love so much and you like start to cry. Like you tear up and you cry a little bit. It's not from sadness. It's really not even from happiness. It's more just like, oh, it warms your heart. I got that like immediately. It was the moment when the two High Templars combined into the Archon. Before he even said power overwhelming, which was the icing on the cake, because that's the stereotypical Archon thing. But just watching them combine and just own that Ultralisk, even though it does die in the process. I'm skipping ahead also, but it was just, it was like the quintessential moment of a Protoss. And I'm not even like the biggest Protoss fan. I think the Zerg are probably my favorite out of the three races, but the Protoss, even just the cinematic alone gave me like a new love and appreciation for it. And if that's how the campaign and the story of Legacy of the Void is going to go, I cannot wait until November 10th. We're close. It's under 2 months. I'm so excited. Because I feel like even in StarCraft 1 and in Brood War, and even in both of the games so far in StarCraft 2, the Protoss are always like really separated from like the emotional connection that I feel, even with like the Zerg and Kerrigan. So I'm really hoping this is the stated goal that they said, I believe way back like BlizzCon 2013. They want like the heart of the Protoss to come through with Legacy of the Void. And if just based on that cinematic, I already can feel it. I already can start my sympathetic heart is already beating for the Protoss, and it's never had before. And it's a lot of little tiny things in the cinematic that did it. Making that one zealot have more characteristic by just giving him a scar over his eye and one of his eyes not working. Fantastic. Doesn't really add much to the story, but it gives like an extra depth to that whoever that character is supposed to be. Oh, and then I think, and also again another first. I think it finally underscores how awesomely powerful High Templar are when they're just like roasting Zerglings, and that one just like fucking Emperor Palpatine's that one Zergling who was on top of that zealot. I will say it's not a problem that I have with the cinematic, but just more that I think it's interesting that they've gone with this route for the cinematic, because for the last two cinematics introducing their game, the first one for the Terran was Tychus being freed by Mengsk and getting into his suit. The second one was Kerrigan in the science lab, having already been cleansed by Jim, having like this prophetic dream where she's invading Tarsonis, or is it Tarsonis? No, it's not Tarsonis. It's Korhal. And then she wakes up, but in the dream you see her doing it. This one, those two were like in the current timeline or slightly ahead. This one seems like way back in the past. I get that the story, they want to go back and reclaim Ire first before they get to Amon, which will be happening. The Amon arc is concluding in this game. But I don't know, it's odd. It's not necessarily bad. I'm just confused why they went in that angle. I'm just confused why they would go in that angle rather than, I was expecting, you know what it felt like? It kind of felt like this was like maybe 2/3 of the actual introduction cinematic, when I know it's not. This was the whole thing. But I felt like what they should have done would have had this be like the first 2/3 and then cut to like present time. Because they talk about the Kala a lot, and for those of you guys who don't know StarCraft lore, the Kala is, he explained it a little bit, but it's like this, it's one of the Protoss, it's their biggest religion, where they're like all connected, like psionically to each other's feelings and thoughts and emotions, and it's with that hair brand, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that they all have. But we already know for a fact that Amon uses that connection to the Kala to corrupt them. That's how he has corrupted the Tal'Darim, who we fought for the last two games. So in Legacy of the Void, we already know that Artanis, who is the what do they call it? The Hierarch, I believe is what his title is. We already know that him and all of his followers who you're playing as have already cut that off, and they've severed their connection, much like Zeratul has for a while now, because they don't want to be controlled by Amon, and they're trying to rebuild their society without the Kala. So maybe they just don't want to give away story, but I wish they would have at least touched on that idea. Maybe, like I said, the first 2/3 could have been this, and it's fucking awesome, it's amazing. And maybe like the last third could have been like it could have like flashed and you would have saw Artanis like standing over his ship I don't remember what it's called, the new one that he has, like just staring off into space, and he was just like remembering it, and maybe one of the zealots was actually him. I don't think it's the guy with the thing over his face, because I think Artanis, unless they changed it, he still has both of his eyes and they both work. It could have been him. I don't know. Artanis as a character has never been truly fleshed out. He was kind of introduced in Brood War as just a Praetor, kind of like Phoenix was before he died. So I don't know. It could have been Artanis. If it is, that'd be pretty cool. But I don't know. It could have been like him remembering all of it, and then cutting to like him overseeing the small amount of forces that he has, and then him saying like, "We're going to retake Aiur," and blah 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 blah. But I want to be clear. It's not a negative. I just wish there was more, because what we saw was so great. What else can we talk about? The High Templars were freaking sweet. The Archon was amazing. Like I said, we finally get the oomph of why the Protoss are so powerful in this world, even when they're scattered refugees at this point, who like aren't nearly as populated as the Terrans or the Zerg. We finally get that after, what, 4 years? Like, holy shit. What else? I think we covered it all. Oh, the MVP of that was the fucking probe. The probe opening up the fucking pylon and then them all warping in. Oh, that was so good. I had like the biggest nerd boner when I saw because at first I wasn't sure what was going on. I should have, because once again, I don't play competitively StarCraft, so for some reason it didn't click that the probe was like summoning a building. I thought maybe that it was like forming a black hole, because Protoss do have a thing, at least I've seen it in the campaign, where like one unit will summon like a black hole, and then from across the map they'll all come across. That's what I thought it was doing. But it wasn't until I saw them summon the pylon, I was like, oh shit. And then when they all warp in, I was like, damn it, Blizzard, you got me again. I am so hyped and on board for this. I cannot wait for Legacy of the Void. It's going to be 2 long months, but I hope it's as good as the cinematic was. I mean, Legacy of the Void and Heart of the Swarm were fantastic. I'm really into the story of StarCraft, even though I have said before, and I still admit that it's a really cliche. But I am just so happy with what we saw. I'm so excited to learn the story, and yeah, I think that's it. That probe, definitely the MVP, and all of those zealots charging with their speed boost, which is what I assume that was. So good. So good. My only want would have been a little bit more to be like, all right, we got it. They want to go back to Aiur, but there's also Amon, which is like the big threat. And so I just wish he would have been at least, if not directly addressed, just like implied that they knew there was other stuff going on. Maybe something like, we want to go back to Aiur, but we also realize the bigger threat looms, and we have to go around collecting the pockets of Protoss that are left. Because I still think that's what the story is. That's what they wanted to do a while ago. It might have changed, but the basic idea was Artanis is the leader of his group, and he's technically the leader of all the Protoss, but there's a bunch of like pockets of Protoss that exist all over the place, and he has to go about like collecting all of them into like an army again. Like he has to go, get some of the Dark Templars with Zeratul, who's not with them at that moment. He has to go get some like the carriers and stuff. Not just those units, but they're like little sub-faction leaders like Selendis, who we saw in Legacy or Wings of Liberty, who's coming back as a main character, I believe is what James Watt said to me on Twitter. But yeah, he has to go around and get all these people to come together and fight Amon. So I'm pumped for it. Let me know what you guys thought about the cinematic in the comments below. What are you most excited about for Legacy of the Void? As you can guess, I'm super pumped. I pre-ordered Legacy of the Void just so I could get those prologue missions early, which I played on the channel. So I'm so excited. I just can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so pumped. It comes out November 10th, which is only like 4 days after BlizzCon. Kind of evil on Blizzard's part, because a lot of us assume that the Legion beta will be announced and released at BlizzCon. So, and I'm still under the assumption that they're going to say, if you pre-order Legion, you get into the beta. Which I will, because I am actually excited for Legion, and I want to show you guys the beta stuff. But a little evil them to release that like 4 days after BlizzCon, I think. But genius from a marketing standpoint. Anyway, that's it from me, guys. Let me know what you felt about all of this in the comments below. But until then, stay awesome, stay pumped, and it's going to be a long 2 months. Thanks for watching, guys. Farewell.